Hi, everybody. Welcome to Our Sinclair. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about RoboCop.
Yeah.
Now, Aaron, famously, you have never seen the film RoboCop,
It's
correct?
funny because I will say I have watched chunks of it. I watched the ending just the other day. It was awesome. Good ending.
RoboCop is a film that I was not prepared for.
Yeah.
I watched it a couple years ago, and I was not prepared for the level of violence involved.
It's over the top violence.
Yeah.
It's machete levels of
You know,
violence.
I am. I get a little squeamish around.
How did you become so sensitive? Did you have a violent upbringing?
No. I really think it's kind of like, tryptophobia. You know what that is?
Too much tripping?
No, that's like the fear of small holes in things. Have you heard of this disorder? It's not really a disorder.
You made that up, didn't you?
No.
Small holes? So
Yeah.
like, if I held a donut up, they'd be like, oh!
No, but like think about like the surface of a strawberry has many like small pock marks in it.
But those aren't holes.
And that freaks people out. The new Mac Pro.
I've never heard of this.
Okay, well look it up. Wiki it. Tryptophobia. I feel like there's just something about lots of blood and seeing people in pain that this doesn't do it for me.
Man, let me tell you something. As a lifelong wrestling and MMA fan, I love the pain. I love machete. Now, I don't like gore fest or torture porn, any of that garbage. I want the pain to be earned. I like man-on-man violence. I like beatdowns. That's what I like.
When you're
Mechs
looking
fighting.
for man-on-man, RoboCop
or
is
women-on-women violence, I'm down with that too.
Yeah. So RoboCop was it was a big deal, in the 80s.
Man.
It was a huge property. I
Yeah,
remember seeing, and RoboCop was one of those movies. The first one was ultra violent, but then they discovered that they could market RoboCop to kids. Then RoboCop became more family friendly.
Yeah.
And there was that weird period in between, like when the ZX Spectrum game was released, that they bought the rights to RoboCop to release, and they marketed this game to kids. So once the kids bought up RoboCop and it sold like gangbusters, RoboCop 2 PG-13, then I believe RoboCop 3 was a PG.
Really?
So then RoboCop was just picking flowers.
Man, you really did your homework.
I did.
Bro.
I did.
I work with a lot of police officials, and I've thought about the prospect of actually having the RoboCop surgery done to some of them. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not going to tell the county. I go to this county, and this guy was the guy that won as the sheriff of the county. Literally, until he won as sheriff, he'd never held office. He was a pipe fitter.
Really?
And I was there the day he came in office, and he was like, "What's a subpoena? What's going on? What's all this crap in the car?" I had no idea what was going on. He's your sheriff. Now, so what if you RoboCop this guy up? Mm-hmm. It's no good. Because what would probably happen, these counties are cash strapped, right? So RoboCop was the most sophisticated cop ever built, right? We would be, in my area, it'd be like you'd be using like a TI-99 level or a Raspberry Pi RoboCop. And so RoboCop's would have great limitations.
Instead of a real gun, he's got like a laser tag gun.
That's right. A RoboCop had the thing that the gun would come out of his hip and stuff. That we can't afford that crap.
No.
So what you would get is probably they have the duct tape to his arm. You know what I mean? And you know how RoboCop would be like, "Stop or I'll shoot." They'd have one of those. He'd have a megaphone with a robot voice on it. Don't halt. That's as best we could do.
It was funny because I always thought it was weird that RoboCop, he had all this advanced technology, but they couldn't get away from the robot voice, the synthetic robot voice. Though it looked like RoboCop's mouth was unimpeded.
We need someone to go, Amiga News. That's the same guy.
It
That's
is.
The voice.
It's the voice.
Now, listen, if you're going to have a RoboCop, he's got to sound like that. What if he sounded like a normal guy? RoboCop rolls up, he's like, "Oh, geez, how's it going?" Or he sounds like Woody Allen. I'm a RoboCop.
You sound like Potsy from Happy Days.
Well, I'm just saying, do you want a RoboCop to sound like that?
No.
You want him to sound like a cool guy.
That's true.
And listen, there's nothing more emotionless and cold than a machine, and you're darn sure not going to violate what they say because they don't care. They're a remorseless killing machine.
Yeah.
If you sound like Andy Griffith, "Hey, I'm the RoboCop," you're not going to take that seriously. You're just going to do whatever you want.
That's true.
RoboCop would be giving out speeding tickets like a meter maid. He wouldn't be pumping holes in bad guys. That's what you need is a robot voice.
Yeah. So RoboCop came along at a time in the 80s when people were leaving, that RoboCop set in Detroit. There was sort of a fear of the big city that was prevalent in the 80s. Lots of people were fleeing to the suburbs. Mm-hmm. And
good move.
Yeah, and I guess
if you lived near Detroit.
And I guess RoboCop was actually developed by this guy who wanted to make sort of a parody of the ultra violence that people assumed was going on in big cities all over the world.
Wasn't the guy that made this like a French gentleman or something like that?
He was not American.
He was. Listen, You been to Detroit before?
I've been to Detroit.
You know, it's funny. Detroit's fallen on some rough times, Boat hasn't it? With this water crisis up there in Flint. And, well,
I went to see Depeche Mode in Detroit.
Really?
Yeah.
How were they?
Well, they were very old.
Did they do enjoy the silence?
They did enjoy the silence.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But Detroit's that city that's it's beleaguered, beat down. You notice I don't pick on Detroit that much because Detroit was the punchline of the '80s.
Yeah.
You know, it was this beat down city. Now I feel we have something in common with them. We got bad water. The city is Detroit and the surrounding area. The woods have taken it back. They've given parts of the city back to the nature.
Half the citizens of Detroit now reside in Huntington.
Right, that's true. You know, they do have an active export trade there. But I mean, so the people in Detroit had problems. But when this movie was made, Detroit was no joke.
Yeah,
it was bad times up in Detroit. I mean, not the wacky bad times they've got now. These are like criminal bad times, and you needed a RoboCop. Now, what's the guy's name? Ed 209 or whatever, the mech that they've got. Mm-hmm. That would also be a pretty good enforcer. I mean, if you put some of those out on the road, I think you would keep people. I don't know. What do you?
Well, you would kill a bunch of people.
Well, I mean, let's pretend that they worked out the kinks. They worked out a few of the kinks.
Do you want to have? I mean, would you be comfortable in driving around the streets of Hurricane with some mechanized drones, just mounted guns and stuff? Would that make you feel safe?
Yeah, I'd feel a lot better. We need some of those real bad. Roy, we need them all over the interstates need them because I'm driving to work this morning. The speed limit in America and our roads is 70 miles an hour, right?
That's American speed limit.
And I don't know what that is in kilometers. You'll have to do the math.
Yeah.
So if you aren't driving at least 85, you're an old woman.
That's true.
They're just killing it out
Especially
there.
in Kentucky.
And then what happens if someone takes an eyedropper, right? Mm-hmm. Or an eardropper or an eyedropper, and they put one little drop of water on the road, it's a 50-car pileup of certain doom.
That's true.
It's because people are out of control. They're crazy out there, So we could use a RoboCop style mech to just, if you see a guy go 85. Put a hole in just one hole.
One hole in the tire.
No, not in the tire.
In his head?
No, right in the bumper.
Oh,
a warning
bumper.
shot.
Okay.
Okay. Another thing I'd like to do is remember in the Bond movie they had a helicopter with a freaking magnet on the top, and so. Okay, here's the bad guy. I'm escaping. I'm a bad guy. Boom, 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 boom. Here comes the helicopter. Mm-hmm. Bam, giant magnet. They just slip that sucker off the ground.
Oh.
And after you get up so high in the air, you drop him.
You just drop him.
Court's adjourned. You know what I mean?
What movie was that?
It was one of the early Bond movies. It may have been Dr. No or one of the other. That's the way you do it.
I have to watch that one.
I always wonder why they didn't do that with car chases. Have a helicopter with a big old magnet on the bottom. That'd be awesome.
It would be awesome.
I guess power lines and stuff.
And I think the helicopter weighs much, much less than that car. It would be difficult to lift
you get one of those big Russian helicopters that look like 50 tanks.
That's true. Get one of those
Remember
Russian
in Red
tank
Dawn
helicopters.
when that helicopter comes up? You ever seen that?
No. You can tell me about it.
Move along.
Red Dawn. Coming soon to a Spectrum near you.
Man.
Let's talk about RoboCop the game, Aaron.
Okay, RoboCop the game. Now this game I'd heard a lot about. Now this is one of the few games we've done on this show that I actually have had a cup of coffee with in the past. So, year of release, 1988. A year before I graduated from high school.
I was 7.
Oh man, yeah, way to be young, Boat. So this thing was authored by a slew of folk. I'm going to go through some of their credentials here because they're important. You had Mike Lamb.
He's a brother of Robert Lamb from Chicago.
I don't know. He did Arkanoid and Revenge of Dolt, if you recall that one. Batman the movie, Combat School. There's a port of that on here.
Man,
who knew?
we got so many games to play on the Spectrum. I can't wait.
Pool. Gotta have Pool. Renegade. All right. The Spectrum Copy program. Like that one. You also did Top Gun. Hey, not bad. That's amongst the things he did. Then you've got Dawn Drake. Now, Dawn, I'm assuming this is a lady. Is it Dawn's not a man's name anywhere in the known world, is it? She did Airborne Ranger, which I played that on the PC, if you remember that one. Batman the movie, Breakthrough, Games Summer Edition. All right, Go for the Gold. It's a knockout. Sounds pretty good.
I can't wait to play it. We've yet to do a boxing game on the Spectrum.
Roadrunner and Target Renegade. And then you've got Jonathan Dunn. He did the Addams Family on the spec. Did you know they had an Addams Family on here?
We're playing it next week.
You're making that up.
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. You saw the future, eh? Chase HQ, he was in that. He was in Guerrilla War, New Zealand Story. So Renegade 3, which I've not heard good things about that. Then lastly, you had Bill Harbison, he was in Chase HQ, Dragon Ninja. I want to get that in sometime. Le Mans, WEC Le Mans. So you got some guys that did some heavy duty booty here. There's a lot of good action here out of these guys. Of course, this is a movie tie-in to the film RoboCop. This is a one-player game. Now, I could not get the joystick to work on it, so I had to use the key. It wouldn't work for me. My setup, it wouldn't work. I don't know why.
You need to play on a real Spectrum.
I got that program you were talking about, and it still... Actually, I didn't try it on there, but it didn't work for me. So this was released at this is a bargain basement price here, Boat, in my opinion. You could get this bad boy for £8.95 on tape, and the disc version, £14.95.
I'll tell you the reason why.
Why?
Because this was released in 1988.
Right.
The Spectrum was not a new system by 88.
Well, I'm just saying.
So they were marking things down left and right.
That's a good deal, though.
It is.
Is my point.
Every game's a bargain on the Spectrum.
That's... Got a good point there. So this came out on a million different computers and home consoles in various forms, right?
Yeah.
You got the Amstrad, you got the C64.
You got the arcade game.
MSX. Yeah, we'll get to that. The NES and the Sega Master System got this game as well. Now, have you played this on any other... I mean, we did this on the Amiga, as I recall, too.
I want to say that this game was back... It was at the Skate Arena when I was in maybe 8th or 9th grade.
This was a Data East joint, and so it's... Data East was doing a lot of good stuff back in those days, man. Including that spy game, Sly Spy was there. Of course, Bad Dudes was there. They did some good stuff, and I will say this was not one that I played a lot in the arcade. And the reason, although it did have that Data East look to it, they had this sort of font that they used. The look of the game, I don't know if it was a resolution, I don't know what it was, but the Data East games of that era had this specific look.
It was a very Bad Dude sort of look.
Well, I mean, Bad Dudes wasn't the first one to do it, but it does, yeah, they all had something.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah. So, again, this game really didn't have a lot to do with some of the other games. Now, by the way, this had a Tandy color computer release, Color Computer 3. I'm on it.
Well,
I'm going to be finding that.
Yeah, that's going to be episode 1 of the Coco Show.
So, oh please. So, what did you think of this game? Walk us through this. Tell the fine folks what the game is and how it works.
So this is a side-scrolling shooter. You play as RoboCop. The titular RoboCop,
Officer Murphy, I believe was his name.
Yes, and you progress through the stage, going from left to right, shooting bad guys with your gun. As you traverse through the stage, you can pick up upgrades for your gun, which give you a more powerful weapon.
And health and bullets.
Now, one of the things that makes this game interesting and unique is that you do have a limited number of bullets that you have.
Yeah.
And once you run out of bullets, RoboCop becomes a street fighting man.
He's robo-screwed.
Yeah.
Is what happens. He goes out there and sucks.
Because you can punch, but guess what? Nobody else is punching out there. Everybody else is packing the heat.
They're packing heat. They're running over you with crap. They're beating you like a dog.
So you really have to manage your ammo in this game. Now, one of the cool things about this game is once you upgrade your weapons, then you continue to have the ammo for your weaker gun as well as your stronger gun.
Yeah.
And your new gun is going to be much more powerful.
It's
so you can blow through guys.
You roll through that one, and you move back to whatever your backup gun is.
Exactly. And I like that. I like the fact that they didn't make you switch between guns.
Yeah, because I hate that.
You're never going to want to pick the weaker gun. You're always going to want the big guy.
Also, you're not going to want to fiddle around with the keyboard any more than you have to.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this game is, I struggle to say it's a kind of a slow plotting endeavor. To be honest
you're
with you.
plotting. Everyone else is going great.
Yeah, RoboCop is not a fast-moving speed demon.
Why did they not put wheels on this guy?
He is. Yeah, he needed some of those shoes that have the roller skates on the back.
Rollerblades.
Some Heelys, I think, is what they're called.
That'd be better. Those were invented back in those days.
No, but he could sure use some. Now, when you complete a stage, RoboCop enters the 3D world because he walks back towards another street, and sometimes that will lead you to a first-person view where RoboCop will have to defeat a bad guy who's holding a hostage.
How'd that go for you?
Well, it's funny because you spend a lot of time shooting the hostage's arm, which is obviously his weak point. I got to a certain point in this game where I had to flip the tape. and then I was unable to flip the tape because I didn't have a tape drive. I was using the phone.
I played the disc version.
I probably should have gone with that on the emulator, but I wanted to be authentic. I wanted to play it on the original 48K.
Now, did the tape version have the cool digitized voices in it?
No. Okay, so you played you might have even played the 128K version if you had the digitized voices.
It was cool.
RoboCop, it should be said, because I have watched some footage of the 128K version. It's got some great music.
Yeah, it does.
One of the most iconic songs of the Spectrum era comes from RoboCop. I almost picked it as the theme for this show, actually, when I was thinking about
the digitized music in this was great, but the digitized sound.
What are some of the samples they give you?
He says he says all the lines from the little credo. You know, it's cool.
Protect the innocent.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, wow. I was messing with this at work a little bit, and my buddy was there. He goes, "Are you watching RoboCop?" I'm like, "No, I'm playing RoboCop." Wow! He was like, "Oh!"
And then he looked at the screen. And he was like, "Oh!" And
well, now wait
away.
a minute. I would have stopped right there. This is a finely detailed game. Listen, is it monochrome? It is. All right, with the exception of the background colors aren't black and white. Sometimes they're blue or red or whatever. But I mean, the detail work and this is totally fine. Even the cracks in the windows and the walls, the little windows of the shops have sale on them. There's stuff in there.
You know what this is reminiscent of? Is playing a game on the classic Macintosh.
It is. It's not the first time we've made that comparison either. Everything is now. Listen, is this an easy game, Boatster?
No,
absolutely no. Whoa, I could not get past the third level, but it's detailed. It plays. It's my biggest problem with RoboCop is the same as it was in the arcade. I couldn't jump, and so you just basically RoboCop's effectively a walking tank.
Yes.
And so you've got to go on the assumption
he moves at the speed of a tank too.
You've got to go through this game knowing you're just going to get smashed a lot. There's nothing you can do about it. Eat it, jerk. You're going to take it. And so when you can't actually avoid stuff, all you can do is try to shoot the guys that are shooting you as quickly as possible. Something else that drove me nuts is you can't walk. You can only walk backwards to a certain point. So if there's a dude up at a window that's blowing you away, and you're like, I'm gonna go back and get that guy, you can't.
What I've discovered about this game is that you just need to move through the stage as quickly as possible. You cannot stop and try and kill everything.
Quickly. He's slow.
You just got to keep on plodding through at the glacial speed that RoboCop goes, because the rest of the guys in this game can move at least twice as fast as you can. They can also fire twice as fast as you can.
Something else that would happen to me is if I was getting particularly pummeled, like RoboCop seemed to sort of freeze.
Yeah.
And they would just pound RoboCop like a dog, and you're just like, I can't move. Help me, anybody. And because a big part of this game is ducking, and when you shoot. Well, guess what? The bad guys can duck too. The bad guys come in mass. The bad guys are shooting. There's like 3 or 4 guys shooting from all over the screen, and the bullets converge on your spot. And the thing is, the bad guys aren't stupid. They're not going to shoot at you when they know they can't hit you. So when you go to hit them, they just wait and they shoot you again.
Absolutely.
It's extremely hard. Another thing I had trouble was negotiating stairs. Not the easiest thing to get up.
You have to line yourself up just right.
Yeah, and so if you're in a hurry, if you're getting hammered and you get to the stairs, you're boned. Something else, I think, the screen that you come to the second level where you have to shoot that hostage in like the first person, or shoot the guy that's got the hostage. I think I shot the hostage. I know I did, because the hostage disappeared, and then I just shot the guy that was holding her hostage. So apparently you can blow away the hostage, then blow away the guy that was holding their hostage, as far as I can tell.
That's how they roll in Detroit.
So I thought that was... I will say that would amuse me, but I don't think I got the point total I should have, because I think I killed the hostage.
Yeah, and this is one of these games that I didn't get very far at all because of the tape situation, but I watched some playthroughs of this, and this game does hit the high points of the movie. You've got the Ed 209 or whatever in there.
There's several of them.
Yeah. So it does do a pretty faithful job of recreating the iconic scenes of the movie. But
Ed's a puss in this too. You just wait till he starts shooting, and you shoot him, and when you kill him, he just sort of... It's almost like when a power supply, a computer blows up, it just smokes, and then you look back and Ed's still there. He's charred.
Yeah.
Down.
You're given 3 lives in this game, and you're giving a pretty generous health meter. But the problem is you're just constantly soaking up bullets because your enemies are just firing at you. And the way that the game sets up the enemies, you're left in these positions where you have no choice but just to take 7 or 8 bullets every time you try and take aim to take somebody down.
Yeah. So. It's this game for me was a mixed bag. And the funny thing is, I'll tell you, I've played this in the arcade a million times and on other systems. It's never an easy game. I know it's beloved, and I can see why. Because in terms of a good-looking, good-sounding, pretty fun game, this ticks all the boxes off. That's not the problem. It's just I'm not very good at it. This is one of those games, and we've talked this before when we did Manic Miner, for example. It's one of those games where if this is the game you had for the month, you would become a master of this game. And so when I've got a week, and we play these games over a week, and when you're playing it, maybe you have 3 or 4 play sessions with it, you're not going to become the master of this game like someone who has this as their only game for a month. And you can see how this game could be endearing to somebody if they play it over and over and they get really good at it and run through it over and over and over. It's good looking. It's got a lot of character. It was well thought out. The level design, everything was perfectly fine. The control is okay once you get used to it. But it's goofy. It's sort of like if the Turrican guy was real stiff, basically, and slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's real. I mean, RoboCop, to me, it seems like RoboCop is less effective than a normal man.
Well, judging from the enemies in this game, you're 100% correct. Because the enemies in these games are doing circus tricks and they're jumping all around.
The only advantage is, guys, he can take a crap load of shots and not die. But I mean, otherwise, everyone else, like you said, they're going up and down. They're crazy.
Yeah, give me normal cop any day.
What I'd like to have is like one of the bad dudes in this game. Then you could get something done. Or maybe have RoboCop in their game. But he's too slow, and the inability to jump. And I know RoboCop probably weighs a lot because of all that machinery that's in him. I wonder what he cost. Remember back in the day when they had the toilet seat on the space shuttle cost like $12,000? Can you imagine what the state wasted on RoboCop?
Oh, well, that's why Detroit went down the tubes. They were on their way back up until they built RoboCop.
Whenever the government gets people to build stuff for them, they pay them they fleece them every time. You can see where there's one RoboCop. They built one guy.
That's it.
It's like, listen, we can't afford to force a RoboCop to get one guy. Don't break him. They send this guy out in the world. But overall, a fun game. It's really tough. A real tough game.
Well, our buddy Duncan Stiles, Amigos contributor, did a side-by-side of RoboCop on the Spectrum and the Amstrad CPC.
Ooh,
and it's immediately apparent that on the CPC version, RoboCop moves much more like a human and much less like a tank, like a Sherman tank.
He's marching.
He's moving down through the level. It looks like the Amstrad, in this particular case, is the clear winner between the Spectrum and the Amstrad version, although I believe that the Spectrum version was released first. So
I think the Spectrum is sharper looking. I will say that it's if you look at the detail between the two. I mean, look at the Spectrum where you got the windows are broken.
Oh yeah.
There's cracks in the thing there. The Amstrad version is not as attractive, but it's in color and it moves quicker. I think it's more a matter of taste.
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure you check out our Amigos Retro Gaming channel on YouTube if you haven't, to check out that comparison video. And thank you, Duncan, for doing that.
We should mention now. We could go ahead and get into some of the reviews and whatnot on this thing, because this game was, as you can imagine, was heavily reviewed. So, the World of Spectrum, where of course I get all of my scores to start off with, 8.34, a lofty score indeed. Crash gave this a 92%. CBG gave it a 95%. Sinclair User at 94%. Your Sinclair 8 out of 10. Ace 807 out of 1,000. I love that. The Game Machine gave it 81%, and Crash gave it the Crash Smash Award, and Computer and Video Games named it the Game of the Month. So it was very well received. It's also one of the biggest selling games of all times on the platform. It was number one on the Spectrum sales charts for a year and a half.
Wow.
Think about that. That's very impressive. So the Ocean, and of course the story of this game is sort of famous, where Ocean sort of crept in and got the license before anyone knew what RoboCop was. And then by the time RoboCop came out, it was a big old hit. Well, heck, they were ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, that was a very shrewd move.
Yeah, that's definitely the way you do it.
We did get some reviews on our Discord channel. This first review comes in from Chris Folds. He says, strangely fun. On the Speccy, this game is slow to play compared to the arcade and C64 versions, but for some reason the drop in speed makes it more playable for me. I don't think it really deserves the high World of Spectrum score or sales records, but a solid and fun game, 7.5 out of 10. And Graham W. Vebke says, it's rare for a licensed movie title to be a decent game, and I see why many people enjoy this game, especially with the digitized voice. It plays well, has a decent tune playing, but at times I couldn't see the bullets due to the color clash on the wider blue, which is a shame, because it's fun otherwise. 7 out of 10.
It didn't matter if you could see them or not. They're going to hit you.
They are.
I will say, I eBayed this sucker to see if we get any action. If you want a tape of this game, $9 to $12. Take it to the
Wow,
house.
so it's selling for more than it did originally.
Now, the big box, for
the big
disc,
bopper.
you're looking $19 to $33. In fact, a $33 I think was still sealed. So that's,
This is one of those things where I'm sure it's appealing to both Spectrum fans and RoboCop collectors.
I think the box actually had a RoboCop poster with it. Ooh, poster, nice.
Well, Aaron, I just want to remind everybody listening out there that if you like the show and you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/Our Sinclair. And I do want to thank those people that are staying up late with us tonight in the chat. Picard 2005.
He was here from Jump Street.
Yeah, he's over in Finland, man. It's like 4 in the morning there. Pac Billy is here. Duncan Styles. Pixels at Dawn. Vamped Amiga was here. Retro Man Cave stopped in. So thank you guys so much. We record this show normally every Friday, but next Friday we're taking a week off because we're going to be in New York doing some Amiga stuff with Amiga Bill from the Guru Meditation.
New York City. Can you believe that?
It's going to be wild.
Taking the Spectrum to New York. Now, here's the goal for our visit. Can we find anyone selling Spectrum items in New York City?
We're gonna try. Maybe Amiga Bill has the inside info.
He's the
on where
man
to
with
go.
the plan.
Yeah.
I know we can find Amiga stuff, Bill.
But I would like to thank our supporters too. All the fine folks that make this show happen: Laurent Giroux, Gary Heather, Eric Nelson, Harbonaut, Graham Vebke, Frodo NL, Tapes from the Crypt, Pixels at Dawn, Chris Foltz, Paul Harrington, and Christopher Hassel. And you know what I just realized? This is actually this particular episode is going to tape after we're already back from New York.
Wacky.
Yeah. So forget all that. We're going to be back on schedule next Friday, and you know what we're going to be playing? The Addams Family. I'm tingling in anticipation.
Oh man, another beating for me.
So we're going to be playing the Addams Family next week. Thanks to our Clive's Club members on Patreon that choose the game for us to play every week. We really appreciate it, and thank you for listening. Until then, keep on playing the Spectrum. I was trying to be clever.
Man, you suck.
Keep on pressing that rubber keyboard.
That's horrible, Boat.
Until then, rewind tape
and press play.